Hi, welcome to our web development class research project. My name is Irving Roman,
And my name is Shareka Brown.
and we're going to go right into, going to share my screen so Sharika and I can see the slides together, and we can start the presentation. And once again, the presentation about web accessibility. And that's a fancy picture of us right there. And Sharika, take it away.
All right. Today we're going to talk to you about web accessibility. Web accessibility means that disabled individuals are able to experience and use the web. They're able to understand it, able to navigate within it, able to perceive it, able to interact with it, and maybe most importantly, they're able to contribute to the web. Web accessibility benefits the aging population whose abilities may be evolving along with their age. It even benefits people without disabilities due to its ability to adapt to different needs and situations. This is very important because about 20% of the population has some kind of disability. The major categories of disability types are visual, which includes blindness and low vision, hearing, which includes deafness, motor disabilities, which would describe those who are unable to use a mouse or may have slow response time. The last is a cognitive disability, which includes various learning disabilities and distractibility. Let's move into the web content guidelines. Web accessibility guidelines and standards are covered by Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act. This act sets standards as it pertains to computer hardware and software, websites, videos, phones, and copiers. Web accessibility guidelines and standards are also covered under Section 255 of the Communications Act. This act sets standards for telecommunications as well as manufacturers of telecommunication equipment. The board that's responsible for governing the acts is described as the United States Access Board. The board is an independent federal agency that vows to promote equality for people with disabilities. They're responsible for the development and maintenance of built environments, transit vehicles, telecommunication equipment, medical diagnostic equipment, and information technology.
Section 508, as I get a little deeper into what Sharika just introduced, as she said, is an amendment to the Workforce Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It was amended in 1998 to address electronic and information technology needs, and it applies to federal agencies to make their IT accessible to people with disabilities. The standards themselves were published in December 2000, and they contain technical criteria applying to various technologies. There are 6 different sections: software, applications, web-based intra and internet, telecommunications, video, multimedia, self-contained products, as well as desktop and portable computers. We're going to focus, because of our web development class, specifically on the web applications, and that's subsection 1194.22, and it includes information conveyed in web pages, associated applications, and plugins. There are 16 parts in this subsection dealing with various requirements for disabled users of web pages. Now, there are several of them that I chunked into different categories. So we're going to cover some of those categories. The major categories are technical text equivalence and captioning. So in other words, for every non-text elements like images, applets, plugins, multimedia, and video, to be compliant, you have to provide an alt or long description attribute for any of those tags that have those images or non-text elements. For multimedia, something like providing captioning or transcripts for the video would also work. And the reason being is, as we go into the screen reader section, screen readers pick up those tags and read them out loud. The next chunk is tables. In other words, when you're not using tables for layout, but actually tables to hold data to be read, to be compliant, you have to make sure that all the tables have row and column headers for the screen readers to recognize. And you have to be careful specifically for row and column headers that take up 2 or more logical rows. In other words, if you have long headers and they take up and they word wrap, you have to make sure that the screen reader recognizes that as one cell or one header. The next section is screen flickering. There's only one part of the section 508 that deals with this, but web pages may cause the screen to flicker slow or too fast. Compliance means that they have to measure the screen flicker frequency to be more than 2 hertz and less than 55 hertz. The next section is color. All information conveyed with color should have content without the color. So in other words, if you have color in your background of a cell and has text, you have to make sure that it can be seen for people who are colorblind. So compliance would require you to view the page in a black and white monitor to identify areas of non-compliance and fix that content, fix those tags to be able to show that content without people, so that people with low vision or blurred vision or color blindness are able to see the content. The next part of it is frames. Now, we haven't really talked about frames in this class because that's sort of an older way of doing things, iframes and frame layouts. So I've actually, captioned this section saying not used as much with newer web pages, because in this class we've learned how to use divs and how to use floating divs and CSS style sheets to be able to put things in logical places. But, not so long ago, before that was available to us, frames were there to block out a left frame, a right frame, a main frame, a top frame, to be able to do page layouts. To be compliant, we have to make sure that all those frames that are still available on some of these older web pages have titles so that the screen readers could recognize them, as well as other tags so that the screen reader can understand that there are different regions that it has to go to. Forms. Web pages with forms and elements to fill out need to be considered. Screen readers, you have to make sure and use screen readers to test to ensure that all form elements are recognized as well as what element is selected. So for example, there are multiple selects in a drop-down, multiple options. You have to make sure the screen reader is able to recognize each and every one of those. Navigation. Frames, we talked about that, but I want to talk about navigation as well because it allows us to understand that those frames are also used for navigation. As I said before, they're logical layouts of a page. Repetition. There are links that are going to be repetitive in every page. In other words, a menu. Every time you go to different pages in a website, there's certain sections that are repeatable. And those things like menus or layouts or, different repetitive links like footers, those things have to be recognized by screen readers as well as provide the disabled users with the ability to hop around and jump around that content without going and tabbing through each and every specific field. And then, next, Shareka is going to talk about screen readers.
And just to kind of play on what Irving spoke about, screen readers allow the visually impaired to be able to read text on a computer screen using Braille or speech synthesizers. It serves as an interface between the operating system, the application itself, and the users. Some screen readers are free, while others can be purchased for upwards of $1,200. Some of the more popular screen readers on the market today are JAWS, VoiceOver, NVDA, and System Access.
Now, we covered some legal things as well as some compliance aspects, as well as assistive technologies slightly with the screen readers. These are all things that are very important. Web accessibility for disabled users is very important so that these disabled users have the same access to electronic and technology devices and content. These federal laws and their amendments facilitate the need for special attention on user interface design and development to work with those assistive technologies, such as screen readers, to ensure the same opportunities to use by technology for everyone. Now, as an aside, this is really important because one of my clients is the federal government, used to be the federal government. And the reason why Section 5 was such a big deal is because as more people come back with disabilities, either from combat or people in general who are disabled here, who are non-combatants, these are things that are important for people as we move into more of a technological age to be able to use the systems, use the things that as we move along are available to everyone. and we can't shut anyone off from doing these type of things, especially with technology going the way it is. And so we believe, Section 508, web accessibility, these type of things are very impactful for society. I think it's very necessary. We think it's very necessary that these things continue to play a part in design and development now and in the future. Now, we appreciate your time, and we want to say thank you for joining us. And any questions, just let us know. Thanks.